what's Missin Curfew. It's when you know, kind of play guilty, but you show up.
You get to the rink, like, oh, there's the workout for you. You're like, played 6 minutes last night. Why do I got to work out for an hour?
Scotty Upshaw in the clear, and he scores! Shane O'Brien goes to the defense of his defensive partner.
Yes, it is Tuesday. So the fellas from Missin Curfew, Shane O'Brien and Scotty Upshaw joining us to talk about night one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. You guys stay up all the way through the overtimes, the double overtimes. You guys
They're out west. They better.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was actually going to go to Up Dogs and watch the game with him, but he was taking care of the two kids, so I figured, hey, we'll watch the game Wednesday, buddy. I don't know if I can come up there for bedtime and help out with that, but we watched them all, didn't we?
Yeah, playoff time, it's right in our wheelhouse. Yeah. We have dinner, and then we get to have that after-dinner drink, whether it's a bottle of Camus or whatever.
All
and
right,
then
enough.
We hope for some overtimes because we don't want these things, Dan.
Yeah, and real quick, it's a single guy's dream, EJ. I got 4 games out here, fire on the barbecue. Let's go, fella. It's nice. It's the best time of year.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm at Prudential Center this morning for morning skates, Devils, Rangers, and I had like 4 different people ask me if I had sent Obi the bottle of Camus yet. And I was like, wow, people do watch our show. Interesting. Yeah. It's on the way, maybe. All right, let's get into last night. Before we do, though, we do have an update out of San Jose. What am I talking about? Out of Dallas. Pete DeBoer saying Pavelski stayed at home today, but is relatively okay. If he can't play tomorrow, he said they're looking for the right combinations without him because of the concern they didn't score at 5-on-5 last night. So that's the latest courtesy of Michael Russo. And let's talk about that Stars Wild game. It was a feisty one. What did you guys make of the hit on Joe Pavelski and everything else that came after it?
I love this. It's a great hockey game. The hit to me, me and Uppy actually just talked about it on our weekly rundown. I thought it was a clean hit. Listen, I never want to see a guy get hurt, especially a guy like Joe Pavelski that has done nothing but the right thing his whole career. And from what I've heard, is a great guy. But to me, the difference in this series the most is the physicality of the Minnesota Wild. Hartman, Dumba, Foligno. To me, you got to finish your check. I never want to see anyone get hurt. But to me, Updog, that's a hit that has to stay in playoff hockey.
Yeah, so I took the other side of this. I thought the situation was it was a high hit for one. To me, I think he lunges at him. It's a spot on the ice that you don't really engage with a lot of players where a guy's coming behind the net and you're not hitting him from the opposite side. You're actually hitting him from that side. I think it's his blind side, EJ. I don't know what you think about this, but to me, it was almost like he was purposely going high on him, and it was a spot that Pavelski was vulnerable, and you just hate to see when guys go down, especially a guy like Joe, who's kind of been in a situation like this before, which almost changed the rules, I think, back in San Jose. And unfortunately, Joe Pavelski is a key player to the Dallas Stars, and it's a big-time play in a big-time series, and it was a great game, like you said. I love the physical play. I just think it was a dirty hit.
Yeah, well, it's funny. It's interesting. You guys have a defenseman siding with the defenseman's point of view and the forward siding with the forward there, which, I think that makes sense because you look at the game, obviously, through the lens of the things that you did in your career, right? For you, Obi, you were looking to deliver those hits when you could as a way to kind of change games. And, Uppy, for you, you're trying to create offense in the corners. And you're not, like you say, you're not necessarily expecting that there. The question for me was, how late was the hit? It was a tad late. And think about this, the unofficial standard that they go by is 0.6. It's such a flash of time in real time. So at the end of the day, I think it was tight. We haven't heard of any hearings, so it doesn't appear that there's going to be any supplementary discipline. But I thought it was a borderline play, and it definitely changed the dynamic of that game and probably of the series moving forward.
Well, hopefully we will see Joe Pavelski in the lineup for the Dallas Stars. I know what year it is at some point in this series moving forward. That was a really good game. The other game that was really good also happened to be out on the West Coast, the Oilers and the Kings in a rematch. And Obi, we couldn't help but notice that you were on the Twitter last night, sharing your opinion with all the hockey fans out there. How is Draisaitl not on the ice in the last minute of the Oilers and Kings game? And if anybody at home, didn't watch this game or missed the highlights, the Kings tied it with like 15 seconds left in the game to force overtime. So elaborate, if you will, on your thoughts on Draisaitl not being out there in the last minute.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to tell you how long it took me to spell Draisaitl. Like how many times I had to look on the internet and then look back and be like, is that right? Is that how he spells it? But you know what, Jackie? To me, he was their best Edmonton Oiler. And, obviously, I think if you ask Connor McDavid today, he thinks that he can play better and will play better in game 2. But the fact that you don't have Draisaitl out there, he's your best faceoff guy. He's your best forward that plays both like forehand and backhand. He's your strongest forward. To me, it was a blunder by Jay Woodcroft. I like the guy up dog, but you got to have Draisaitl out there in that moment.
Yeah, and he wants to be out there. And I think, at times we're not looking to score a goal in that last minute. So you got to have the guys that are your PK guys that know how to block the shots and do everything right, sacrifice their body. We don't need Connor McDavid going down to block those shots.
Yeah.
But there's going to be those battles where you want your high energy guys, your PK guys that do it all year. You want those guys out there, and that is Leon Draisaitl for them. And it was going to be his hat trick goal too. So I was pulling for
that was another reason.
Yeah, it is a tricky spot. I mean, it was a weird finish because at first it was just an empty net situation, 6-on-5. Then there was the penalty to Bouchard that led to a 6-on-4, and that changes the dynamic even more. But I would agree. I mean, the players, the big-time players want to be out there. I'm sure McDavid is itching to be out there. I'm sure Draisaitl is itching to be out there. And I like the point about Draisaitl's physicality in a board battle with a guy like Kopitar, let's say. You need somebody that's big and strong and can match in that area. So I'm sure they'll review those moments. Tough decisions for coaches, for sure, late in games.
Well, the LA Kings find a way. They trailed 2-0. They trailed 3-1. They find a way to tie it late and then, of course, get the win in overtime. Now, to be fair, the Oilers dropped game 1 of the series last year as well and turned out all right. They did advance and end up in the conference final when it's all said and done. But for LA, a team that's kind of struggled to close the season, they're missing one of their best offensive players. How big is this win on the road for the LA Kings in terms of how they feel about their game as a team?
It's massive, and you got to give Kempe some love. I mean, this guy, his 2 goals where he was like, let's go, boys, let's go. Like, he was leading the charge. They played unbelievable. They did exactly what they had to do. They bend, they didn't break up, dog. I was about to text Uppy in the second period, be like, this baby's over in 5. And now I'm like, up dog, we got some serious issues here, fella.
Yeah, and those pivotal game 1s on the road, if you go in there and squeeze a game out, and let's be honest, everyone was leaning on Edmonton in this series of 14-1 in their last 15, best road record or best record in the NHL since January. They were all expecting Edmonton to come out and play the way they did to start the game, but LA did not go away. Their key guys, their veteran guys, Kopitar steps up, big time goal. Doughty was involved all night. They got the goaltending they needed. And right now, stealing one in Edmonton, that's a big swing for the series.
Yeah, massive win, I think, for LA. Jackie, we were talking about it, in our run-up to the show today, that you're right, you framed it. LA has been struggling. And they needed something here. And that's a big deal. Just like it was a big deal for Minnie last night on the road in overtime to rally to win. Big time for both. And I would ask, Uppy, I want to ask you about Adrian Kempe quickly, because those 2 goals last night, I mean, the release, the backhand, I mean, this guy doesn't get near enough attention as a dangerous, dangerous offensive player.
EJ, I watched him play maybe 2 weeks ago at Staples Center, the new crypto.
Yeah.
I was fascinated by his release. He's a guy that he's gotten better and better over the years. When he first came in the league, I played against him over in China in training camp. And I saw this guy that had all the skill and the size and the skating, but couldn't quite figure out the NHL game Now he is bringing it. He's a go-to guy for them. He's their all-star. The way he shoots the puck, it caught Skinner by surprise last night. It just comes off his stick so unique. And what he's doing, Obi just mentioned it. He is their go-to factor. And if he keeps it up, he's going to be a hard thing to deal with.
Yeah, he won't be underrated much longer if
No.
he keeps coming up clutch and dragging the Kings back in to hockey games in the postseason. But another reminder, I think, too, for the Kings that, like, they have such veteran experience. They don't get rattled if they start a game down 2-0. Like, they just keep chipping away and finding a way to kind of try and create momentum for themselves, and that was the case last night. By the way, we do have an update. Let's get to that before we move on to our next topic. Gabe Vilardi just spoke with us media folk and stated that he is ready to play tomorrow. So that is the latest, courtesy Patrick O'Neill, who does play-by-play for the LA Kings. We got 4 series underway after last night. Let me ask you guys this. What was the most impressive performance of night number 1?
I'm going to step back to the LA Kings game and Victor Arvidsson, a kid that I played against a lot. He's always involved. He steps up in the playoffs. What he did last night, blocking those shots in the third period, the assist on the tying goal, the cross ice pass was absolutely phenomenal. And then just in overtime, he makes that simple play to Iafallo for the goal. That's stepping up in the playoffs. That's what you need your guys to do, a veteran guy like that. So for me, Arvidsson last night was the number 1 star.
Yeah, that's a great pickup, dog, and a sick little backdoor dish on the winner, too. So he played unbelievable. For me, I'm going to go Minnesota Wild. Ryan Hartman, OT winner, battling through some kind of leg injury. That's a massive goal for him. And Marcus Foligno. EJ, you want to talk about an old school guy? Watch this guy finish his checks right now. Every hit in game 1, he wasn't trying to just hit them. He was trying to put them in the third row. I love this guy. Those 2 guys were huge for the Wild, and that is a massive, massive win.
Yeah, and I would also throw in Anze Kopitar as well, just because, I mean, he got the points, but I guess to Jackie's point about the Kings, like Kopitar and Doughty, when you've got guys with that kind of pedigree,
The presence that they bring,
exactly.
right? Like just their presence in the game, I think.
Yes, it's a 60-minute game in the playoffs, and they were there for 60+, and they found a way to get a win. But Arvidsson, lights out good as well.
We're running out of time, so I'll just throw a couple names out without much explanation.
Right.
I think Brent Burns, huge for the Carolina Hurricanes, probably deserves a little bit of love. They're going to need him, I think, if they want to go deep this postseason to help offensively. And then Gustafsson, the goaltender. Minnesota Wild, first ever playoff game, goes a double OT. This guy's just making saves left, right, and center.
Yeah, he was terrific.
He was sensational and clearly a solid choice for them in game number 1. But we can do shout-outs all day long. Didn't get a chance to ask you guys about the Florida Panthers game, but we will talk to you next week, and we'll reconvene on where we're at in a week's time. But enjoy the games tonight. You're so lucky that you're on the West Coast, where you don't lose as much sleep as us folks on the East.
That's true.
That is true. And I could just say, go Rangers.
Wow.
We're on opposite sides of this.
Leaning in.
We're on opposite sides of this here.
Leaning in.
Devils fans have not yet forgiven Shane O'Brien for his comments earlier this season about certain people being on the wrong side of the Hudson. But this series will start on the Jersey side.
On the Jersey side, my friend.
And I don't suggest Obi coming out here for a game.
I do. I'd suggest it. Come on out.
It should be a good one. Enjoy it, fellas.